Started. Hi, my name is Oladiran, and I'm from the Department for Education. Alongside me is, I'll let her go introduction.
Hi, I'm Charlene. I'm like change the
The picture, yeah, just in case you were confused. Yeah, but Mansour does send his apologies. He's unable to join because he's a bit under the weather at the moment. But Charlene has stepped in last minute, by the way, to fill his shoes. So she's amazing. So basically, thanks for having us over Beep and the Maritime team. We're from DFA, like I said, the school water strategy. And our main, if you want to capture it in 3 words, our main objective is keeping schools dry. And I say we are the school strategy because, again, just myself and Charlene are standing in front of you, but we have kind of teams past and present that have driven this initiative forward since its inception. And I'll hand over, Charlene. I'll do this slide for you if you want.
Okay, if we look at who we are and what we are part of the school's water strategy, as my colleagues just said. So essentially, about 12 years ago, the DFE put together a risk protection arrangement that is an alternative to commercial insurance for schools. In that, they've got several programs that are running. They've got programs that look at security, programs that look at strategy in terms of crime, fire, health and safety, but also in that we look at water. We look at damage that has been caused to our buildings because of water damage. Currently, over 60% of state-funded schools are now members of the RPA. So that shows that we have got a large market and a large proportion of people that are interested in our services that we provide. And since its inception in 2014, the RPA has spent over 120 million on water-related claims.
Yep. Okay, as part of the school water strategy, the 3 work streams that makes up the school water strategy, most of the few of the people in this room will be aware of the SuDS in Schools project. We also have the property flood resilience work stream and also the EA partnership as well. Again, in the combination, we've delivered flood mitigation in over 700 schools at risk across the country through its initiatives. And again, this is just a pictorial representation of the different kind of our projects cover in different regions in England. The one to my right, which will be to your left, is reflective of SuDS. And I'm sure obviously we could add some additional dots on there, since when this slide was created about a few months ago in terms of this particular map snippet. And the one to my left is the property flood resilience, and which we're planning on kind of scaling up the service on both fronts, which again we'll talk on the later slide. On the next one, Charlene. Yeah.
So there are different solutions that we offer. We've got the blue solutions that everyone's aware of. We've got the traditional pond swells that direct water away into existing waterways. We've then got green solutions that everyone also is aware of, planters, rain gardens. And then we've got the grey, which is the harder stuff, the barriers, the doors, the air blocks, the flood walls, and the sleeping policemen.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Charlie. And just to mention, as part of the SuDS in Schools program, we only do the blue and green. And for the property flood resilience, it's a holistic approach, so we consider the grey infrastructure as well. And this is a fun fact I meant to mention at the beginning of my presentation. Myself and the microphone, we have a love-hate relationship in terms of it for some reason doesn't pick my voice. So if you can hear me, please give me a wave and I'll come closer. Please, yeah. I'm not trying to be silent or mysterious by any means. So go to the next one. Again, this is basically a case study from one of our schools that we've delivered by the property flood resilience. And again, I'm highlighting a few of the case studies in the slides as we go along. And again, this particular school experienced very devastating flooding a few years before obviously it came on our books. And again, obviously in terms of getting kind of different authorities involved in getting pupils out of the school. Obviously, since we onboarded them by the property flood resilience, we'll be able to put certain infrastructure on the school site. And one of the elements is installing at the entrance of the car park a small bond that redirects the flow to the east and to the other features that we deliver as well that we installed on the school ground. As part of that as well, we expanded the car park roadway. That you can see here, it was kind of expanded to take into account that. Sorry. who can tell we're winging it? Yeah, myself and Charlene. Yeah, but yeah, and also in terms of obviously installing our infrastructure where water pools to kind of install on thrift curb to kind of basically integrate the infrastructure into kind of the day-to-day of the school to prevent this scenario from happening. Again, this is under one of our projects, more in the SuDS in schools space. In terms of this, just shows what we can do in terms of just the school estate. So this was a large area, large concreted area, and you can see we were able to install rain gardens, which we're planting installed, and that's just one of many kind of features that we're able to install on that school site. In addition as well, this is one of our projects more on the SuDS front that just takes an element of what we described in terms of the blue kind of conveying the water. So basically the pond was already existent on the school ground, but we were able to design features that kind of connect to already existing features on the school ground, so we were able to kind of install as well. I would say ignore the fence on the far on the far left. That wasn't installed as part of the project. We made that there, but again, obviously, I couldn't get updated. I'm sure when I visited, there was talks about replacing that fence, but again, I couldn't get updated features in just the time. Again, this is one of our schools, more on the PFL and partnership with the EA as well, in Burnley Road. Again, obviously, they were hit as well with devastating flooding on Boxing Day, which necessitated the school closure. But we worked with the EA and the Calderdale Council to install different pumps, air bricks, SuDS planters, flood barriers, obviously, and the school officially opened in 2023. This actually predates my involvement in the school water strategy, but you can see a couple of my colleagues trying to smile awkwardly. But again, my smile is always awkward as well. But yeah, so if we move on, next is under one of our green infrastructure projects in the Woodside Bridge Primary School. Again, this is one of our projects where it was part of property flood resilience, but it was a sub-branch of the property flood resilience to see what we can do in the green infrastructure space. So we try to install different SuDS and blue infrastructure in different key areas on the school site, which also incorporates into the outdoor learning space of the pupils as well, which is obviously one of the pictures is depicting kind of the outdoor learning space that we're able to provide in addition to kind of mitigating the flood risk as well. Nature-based solutions. This is one of the pictures at Eden Park Primary School under one of our green infrastructure projects. In addition to the planters, we were able to install something I've been describing as a rainfall ladder. I'm sure there's more technical ways to put it, which connects into a planter that was installed. I wish I had actually the picture on here, but it was quite genius in terms of the designers that put in kind of developed that initiative. And again, obviously, the school we're very happy with that, because again, those areas usually pool with water, but installing this infrastructure, and again, obviously, allows for that risk to be mitigated significantly, and also allows the adoption element, because it's one of the elements we try to kind of incorporate into our project, because obviously there's no value in installing features where you go 5 years down the line, and obviously the maintenance is not being up to date. Again, some elements of the wider project benefit. There's community benefit, educational benefit, as you would imagine coming from Department for Education. I'm sure you're not surprised about the educational benefit. I hope you're not surprised about the educational benefit element. But again, there's the community benefit, like I said, adapting to climate change by providing urban cooling, help to address issues of social inequality, making better places to live and also to learn as well. There's the educational benefit in terms of providing iterative lessons, like I mentioned earlier, and also involve pupils in the designs of the solutions we install. Again, I've seen videos where the kids explain what SuDS planters do better than I can, which just makes kind of my work in terms of, because I do approach this from mostly a project management background, kind of just makes it very rewarding when you see those kids just kind of getting kind of stuck in. Again, doesn't come without its challenges, as you would all know. Again, obviously, weather is one that is one we face in terms of the climate has been talked about, in terms of how to mitigate against that. We do different kind of strategies with our delivery partners, but that's one of the biggies. Limitation on delivery installation time frame due to budget constraints. Obviously, for my program, budgets are tied to financial years, and again, obviously, any slippage is basically is always a challenge to manage within my program, which is more of the boring element. That's that kind of obviously delivery stakeholders and the kind of even schools might not really understand too much the nuances in that element. Engaging with all the relevant stakeholders as well. Again, we've had cases where obviously we've gotten in touch with the school, but obviously the school hasn't passed on our communications to the landowner, either being the diocese. So again, obviously ensuring that we get every stakeholder from the kickoff involved in the process to kind of avoid any scope creep or any change in plans later on. School access is also a big one in terms of, and I know obviously we work with Meristem and different delivery providers in terms of getting times to actually go and install these features. You kind of aim for key holidays, i.e. summer, which is the big one, summer holidays, and you have the February half terms and the October holidays. And some schools do value installation during term time as well, because they get the pupils involved and seeing different professions on the school site. So, but again, obviously school access is one of the challenges we face as well. And again, I'm not even going to touch on, because in this room, everybody would know the complexity of flooding, so I'm not going to touch on that too much. Again, our key stakeholders we work with, like I said, most of the kind of people in this industry, obviously flood experts, loss adjusters. We work with water companies. I believe obviously we have via our SuDS and Schools project. We work with technical experts, lead local flood authorities as well. I was going to start naming a few, but then obviously the ones I don't name, I don't want to offend. So I'm not going to name any of our partners. But yeah, and we work with, obviously at the core of our delivery is basically the schools, as you can imagine, and they are the core of our delivery. A few school testimonials, and I wouldn't read it all. I wish, again, I'd done a bit of the animation, as I think it was Matt that did in his first presentation, in terms of the animation of the kids talking. That was genius, and I was like, why didn't I think of that? I could have done speech bubbles in there instead. But again, obviously, these are a few kind of obviously testimonials in terms of our project. And again, obviously, it's just when you see the kids kind of and the school as well buying into the program, it just makes it kind of jump out of the paper, basically. Again, I did touch on that we're planning on scaling up the program, and one element of that is basically is obviously scaling up in different work streams. Via the SuDS work stream, we run a yearly grant application that is open to lead local flood authorities, water companies, school and non-profit organizations such as charities. Again, obviously, at the moment we have a tender, which again I just got the confirmation as I was coming, which is off. What's the word? Out of the press, basically. That it's now live in terms of obviously the procure tier and design and build service to deliver our PFL work stream at scale. And again, obviously, we're looking at establishing guidance for schools and routes to market. That's currently obviously in the kind of in the pipeline at the moment as well. Again, this next slide is not really meant to be in any way, shape, or form a bragging slide. It's just to kind of show, and I've seen my picture in one of your slides as well. We've actually came onto the stage. Just obviously, we've been fortunate and honored to obviously get recognition for our work. And again, obviously, we wouldn't be able to deliver what we deliver without our delivery partners as well. Again, obviously, we've gotten awards twice in the Flood and Coast internally as well in DFE, and also obviously partnership with Southern Water in the Water Industry Awards, just to mention a few. And how are we doing to time? I think that's the last slide anyway. But cheers, thank you.